Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Interfaith Community Sanctuary. My name is Sally Jo. I'm one of the co-ministers here at Interfaith Community Sanctuary. We're happy to have you here today, and a beautiful service planned with help from our congregation and wonderful leadership by our friend and congregant and longtime member, Steve Kramer. And thank you, Steve Crawford, for the beautiful music you shared just now. And we have some opening ceremonies that we do every Sunday. And the first one is the lighting of the candles, which I have done here. And this is our altar, and these are our world peace candles that were gifted to us with flame from every continent in the world. And this happened many years ago in 1990, I think, and we were gifted with that world peace, it was called the World Peace Flame. And we opened the altar because we have books of many different, quite a few different spiritual traditions in our altar, and we like to acknowledge the interfaith wisdom that has been transmitted through those spiritual texts, and we open the altar to let that wisdom come into the sanctuary with us this morning. And we begin with a few sort of opening procedures or rituals or rites. And the first one is to invite our ancestors to join us in our service today. So I'll ask Chris to do that honor for us today.
Good morning, and excuse me. Thank you, Sally Jo. I'm glad to support Steve Kramer, and thank you again to Steve Crawford. I'd like us to think about our ancestors. Now, ancestors, for me, I'm actually adopted. One thing I don't say at this time is, and as an adopted person, I see myself as part of many different family groups, and I'd like us to think about in our hearts about how various people have brought us to this time, whether it was our parents, whether it was other family, blood-related, or it could be friends and teachers. It could be characters and authors. Many folks may have helped to bring us to this place today, and I'd like us to think about those folks for ourselves and take a moment and gather those in our hearts. We welcome all our ancestors, and I also like to, at this time, in addition to being adopted, I'm also a teacher, and as a teacher, I think of the young people that I'm teaching and have taught over the decades, and I'd like us to think that maybe there are some folks who could be considered our descendants. Now, descendants, I know some of us have children in the room that we could think of those folks, but it could also be other folks that we come in contact with either on a regular basis or just today, maybe somebody in a store or helping us to get some gas or some other groceries. Just let's think of the folks that we could consider and who may consider us to be ancestors, and they may look at themselves as being influenced by us. So also think about those people who could be our descendants, just briefly. Thank you. Welcome to all our ancestors and descendants. Blessed be.
Good morning to everyone who's here and to all those online, or good afternoon if you're from some other time zone. I'm Steve Kramer, and I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge that the land we occupy is the traditional, ancestral, but stolen and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, in particular the Duwamish, and in this area, the Shoshone. We are very grateful to them as the rightful past, present, and future caretakers of this beautiful land on which we call home, but which we do not own. We acknowledge the burdens they carry due to ongoing colonialism. We are very grateful to the land itself, the home of cedar and deer, fern, oysters, all those beautiful beings that share this land with us and provide sustenance for us. They were here long before us and our kin, and are also continued to be stewards of this land. We apologize to them for any injustice enacted upon them. We also recognize those Black, Brown, Asian, and Indigenous peoples who helped build this country, but were often enslaved, exploited, or unpaid, and continue to face racism and discrimination. They require liberation and reparation in the name of healing, equity, and justice. We pray, one day may we see ourselves as one and treat all beings with respect and compassion as our sisters and brothers. Amen.
Thank you, Steve. I'm going to take a moment here and do a reading to honor the divine feminine that we honor which we honor every Sunday. And this little candle up here and this little altar space is designed to help us remember that we all have present within a side of ourselves both the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and that we seek to find balance in the masculine and feminine energies that we hold within ourselves and that we feel everybody holds within themselves. This is a reading called The Quiet Majesty That Sustains All by one of my favorite living female teachers named Miriam Sabah. And you will be finding out that some of Steve's service today is focused around water, so I took the liberty of picking a reading that has to do with water as well. When we think of power, we often imagine something raised and dominating. However, the greatest authority is also the most humble presence. It offers life to all, yet demands nothing in return. Let's consider water. Every living thing on earth depends on and is made up to some degree by water, plants, animals, and people. The power of water shapes mountains, carves valleys, and gathers clouds. It holds the power of creation and renewal. Yet water is also the deepest servant. It flows through the landscape, quenching thirst in everything. It contains vast ecosystems providing nourishment and structure. It cleans, heals, and sustains life as we understand it, quiet, subtle, and without asking for recognition. True sovereignty is like this, vast, essential, and quietly generous. It holds everything together, not by force, but by serving the needs of all. When we decenter the world from ourselves, we have the potential to be of the deepest service. Let us honor the quiet majesty that gives and sustains life. Let us affirm that true power is found in service and generosity. Amen. And as we let that sink in and water our roots, I'd like to take a moment to introduce to you our presenter today, who is our congregant member of Interfaith Community Sanctuary, Steve Kramer. Most of you know him if you've been here for a while. And there's a little write-up that he offered us in the inside your order of service, talking more about himself. And Steve has been with us for, I don't know, at least 5 years, I would say, if I'm in my memory, coming and worshiping with us on Sunday mornings, and also being a part of our interfaith outreach, which we are very well known for in this part of Seattle and of Washington State. He's an interspiritual minister, a poet, a budding artist, and he's very, very in tune with nature and feels that himself to be very much a part of the natural world. He has a BS in biology, and he has also had many deep encounters with the Indigenous spiritual teachers who have shared their wisdom with Steve over many past 35 years, as he said. He's been a hospice nurse since 2021, and he's explored many spiritual paths, including Buddhism, Sufism, and Hinduism. Currently, he is coordinator for the spirituality and environmental pillars of the Charter for Compassion. He also serves on the board of Northwest Interfaith here in Seattle, of which we are active members, our congregation is, and which, by the way, after this afternoon is having a wonderful Thanksgiving celebration of gratitude and hope today, but not at this location, but over at a beautiful church in Queen Anne called the Queen Anne United Methodist Church. And there's an address and a little reminder about that also inside your program. It's from 2 to 4 this afternoon, and Steve and Jamal and I and several others from our congregation are part of organizing that wonderful event, which has been going on. This is the 29th year we have been having that in Seattle every year, just a weekend before Thanksgiving, and that's happening this afternoon. And Steve has been running back and forth. I remember when I invited Steve to this Sunday, I said, Steve, you know, that's going to be the Sunday of our big Thanksgiving service. Are you going to be able to do that okay? He said, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. So we all learned that it was a little bit of a challenge to have everything ready, and we're so grateful that Steve's here. And so I'm going to turn the program over to him and let him guide us through his beautiful service today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally Jo. I would like to start off with opening our service today by calling in the 4 directions per the local Sufism medicine, local Sufism medicine fashion of calling in the directions. If some of you are familiar with different Indigenous groups, quite often, most groups, especially in the Midwest and the South and East, when they call in the directions, they start out in the East, and then they move to the South, the West, the North, and then back to the East. In the Sufism tradition based here, we go in the opposite direction and start in the East, then in the North, the West, and the South. And the reason for that is the direction that water moves naturally in this area. In the ocean and in the rivers, when unencumbered, water, if it's in a whirlpool, it always flows in a counterclockwise direction. So we're rather unique in that regard in terms of how we approach working with the circle as a form of medicine. So I'd like to call in the 4 directions. And another part of the Sasiwish tradition is when we finish a prayer, we come to our heart space and gather all that is of light and love and of the divine, and hold that in our hand, and we offer that up to the Creator. And we gather what the Creator blesses us with and returns it to our heart. And when we do that, we say, whoa, or oh. And that's the voice of the whale people who we are honoring. So since I've called in the directions, I would like to conclude that with this honoring. And please participate if you're comfortable. Oh, Yashka, which means thank you. I'd like to now sort of open up this central altar by lighting the candle. And in I sort of walk two different traditions. One is a tradition of a group of indigenous elders, and they called their tradition the philosophy of universal beingness within the whole. And that's based in the Southwest, outside of Albuquerque. And so I straddle that tradition as well as I'm learning more and more of the local Sasiwish tradition. Based on the Southwest tradition I follow, when we have an altar, we always have a candle, a representation or part of Mother Earth or soil, and it could be a plant. And we also have natural water, whether that be rainwater or from a stream. So I'd like to light the candle, and I have some water from our local Thornton Creek, and also soil. And now I'd like to open up the service to more of a participatory part. And I just remembered I did not officially convene the service as we usually do here, so I would like to ring the bell and do that. So if there was any doubt, we are now officially convened. The next thing I'd like to lead us through is a water blessing, per the Southwest tradition that I've been part of. And I almost need a mic stand for this, actually. Okay. I invite each of you to come up to the central altar and pick up one of the glasses of water. And those of you who are at home, if you have any tea or water or even coffee, I invite you to take a moment and get that. And while you are getting that, I'll play a brief flute song. And as you're holding the water, I ask you to just hold it and thank it for all of the wonderful things that Sister Water provides us, and give it all the love that you can. And when I play my flute, it's always spontaneous as the spirit moves me, and I do my best to get out of my head and offer it as a prayer. So, oh. And for those at home, hopefully you've had a chance to get some water or tea or something. And I'll guide us through the water, show you what we'll be doing for the water blessing. And then I'll do it a second time and invite you all to do the same as I'm doing, if you're so moved. So I gently hold the water first with my two hands, and then I'll offer it to the east, and you can depend on where you're sitting, just sort of raise the glass in that direction. And we'll all be doing it in, so at some point when I'm doing the south, I'll be doing it here, the north, the west. So it gets a little, sometimes you have to offer it behind you in that direction. And you can also do this by standing. And if you prefer to do that and turn around to face the directions, you're certainly welcome to. So I'll offer it to the east and ask for a blessing, then to the south, and we'll do this more intentionally in just a moment, then to the west, that's the north, the east, the north, the west, and the south. And then we'll bring it to our heart and give it all the love that we can. And then to our body, to our solar plexus, to our mind, to our forehead. And I'll say a prayer as we're doing this, and you can repeat it after me. And then we'll offer our sacred breath to the water. And by sacred breath, what I mean is envisioning that the air that we expel through our breath it's wrapped around our hearts by our lungs. And what we're doing is sharing that breath, which contains moisture and water, with the water itself, and giving it all the love that we can. And after that, I will invite everyone to take a sip, or you can drink a fair amount of the water if you like, but leave a little bit of it. And then you can either leave it by your chairs or put it back up on the altar. And after the service, I'll ask for a volunteer to take that water outside and to share it with one of the plants or a couple of the plants outside so that they receive a blessing as well. And repeat after me. My heart is one with the sacred water.
My heart is one with the sacred water.
My body and my actions are one with the sacred water.
My body and my actions are one with the sacred water.
My thoughts and words are one with the sacred water.
My thoughts and words are one with the sacred water.
And I'd like to ask the blessings for the directions. Dear beloved East, please bless this water. And we give you great gratitude for supporting us as we walk this earth.
We give you great gratitude for supporting us as we walk this earth.
And then hold the water to the north. Spirits of the north, we invite you to bless this water.
Spirits of the north, we invite you to bless this water.
And we give great gratitude for all the gifts that you give us, including the gift of snow and winter rain. And then turn to the east, or no, the west. Dear spirits of the west, we ask that you bless this water. And we give gratitude for all the gifts that you give us and providing us with water through the storms that blow off our coasts. Then Spirit of the South, in all the alliances of the South. We ask you to bless this sacred water. May it nourish our bodies and our souls. And now let's breathe our sacred breath into the water and give it all the love that we can. You may take some sips of the water. Yaishka, which is thank you. And I realized when I led you through that, usually I start out with during the directions first before I bring it back to my heart and my solar plexus. So I sort of mixed up the order some, but that's okay. I don't think the spirits care. I think they'll forgive me this time. I was asked to share from my journey and what brought me here. And so I thought I would start off with that and share some of my experience of some of my experience of nature as it provides sanctuary and safety and wholeness for me and community. And so I grew up Catholic, and I think of myself as a recovering Catholic these days, as I think many of us are. I grew up in a small town where the ceremonies were very traditional and seemed to never change, and we always sang the same 7 songs week after week and year after year. When after high school, I grew up in a small town in eastern Washington, which is in the land of the Spokane Indigenous tribes, and went to school in Spokane, went to college in Spokane to a very liberal Jesuit college, Gonzaga. And that opened up my eyes to a whole new sort of broader perspective of spirituality, but was still within the confines of the Catholic Church. I was at a retreat, I think in my junior year, which was just on the outskirts of Spokane, and was walking through the woods during some free time, and it had been rainy, and it was a very cloudy early spring morning. And I crested a hill, and there was a valley below with some farmland and a couple trees. And the sun broke through and shone down on these 2 golden willows. And they just burst into yellow flame, practically. There were no leaves on them, and suddenly they were like sharing their light, they were reflecting the sunlight and were just glowing. And that was what I would call at the time a peak experience. If you know that term by Abraham Maslow. That was a soul-changing experience for me. And it was like, this was God. I walked down to the valley and had spent some time with the two willows, and one of them had some low branches, so I was able to climb up into the tree and just sat there and communed with nature at a level that I had never experienced before. And that changed my life. I still stayed with the Catholic Church for quite a while, but in the 90s, because of some of their doctrine, I just really had to put some distance between myself and the Catholic Church. And that was a great loss for me in many regards. I struggled for a while spiritually, but found a very progressive community when I was living in Tacoma and made some wonderful friends down there. Then in the early 90s, I was introduced to an Indigenous teacher, local teacher, Steve Leo Coyote, and was one of his students for a couple years, and then was also introduced to Johnny Moses and Thundercloud. And that just totally gave me a vocabulary to what I was feeling inside my heart. And it broadened out my whole relationship with nature and with the four directions and Mother Earth, Father Sky. And I'm ever so thankful for the traditions that I learned. I participated in sweat lodges and did a vision quest during that time, where I spent 3 days and 2 nights out in the wilderness, not too far from Mount Rainier. And that just really fed my soul and got me started on this path. Then in the early 2000s, a friend of a friend suggested that she attend a workshop by a couple of Indigenous elders from the Albuquerque area. And they were up here to get together with some of their local students. So she invited my friend and housemate at that time, Kathy, and I to attend that workshop. So I met Grandmother Lonnie San and Grandmother Tu Moonwalker. And Grandmother Tu was the elder of the two, and she is Wide Apache. Unfortunately, she passed away about, I think, 7 years ago. And Grandmother Lonnie San is part half Yome, which is a Southwest tribe that borders between Mexico and New Mexico, Arizona. And most people haven't heard of it. And she's also half Jewish. So that's quite a combination as well. But I was just really heard a whole different level of spirituality through their workshop, and attended a couple other workshops here, and then started going down to the Southwest. And learned about the sacred circle medicine per the Southwest, and more in depth, at a more in-depth level than I had previously heard, and got acquainted with the blessings and alliances of the different directions, and also learned how to connect more strongly with nature, and that's been such a gift for me. A big part, I'm still a student of Grandmother Lane's, and Grandtia Blasa is her eldest student, and belong to a lovely community down there. I go down there once or twice every year, and we have high ceremony every fall equinox. And through them, I learned how to connect with nature at in a more reciprocal way, and how to honor nature and also allow nature to teach me what I need to do to walk in a more balanced way, and in a way that honors Mother Earth and all of her children. And we do that through connecting with, we call them the 11 alliances, which are, and I'll see how many I forget now that I have a mic in front of me. Color, shape, and symbol is one, like sacred circle. There's also sacred square, sphere. These all have energies. And then the elements, such as sunshine, water, earth, mountains, and the elementals. Those are grouped together. And elementals are any spirits associated with nature, whether those be like they belong to the fairy kingdom, dryads, water nymphs. They can be some of the what we call mythological creatures who we really believe are based on energies, and that we can connect with those energies if we make ourselves available to them. Then there's also the shell beings, the minerals and crystallines, the standing ones, or the plant beings, both trees and ferns and mosses, the creepy crawlers, which are the insects, arachnoids, those beings with 6, 8, or 100 legs or more, that we so often get rather squeamish about. Those that hop and those that slither, or reptiles and amphibians. Water beings, and water beings are fishes, sponges. You can also include like kelp and plankton. And some of these areas, some beings connect with both, like more than one. Like beavers are both, they're another, the mammal, the four-leggeds, but they're also a water being. Shell beings are also water beings, but they're also specific to shell being and carry medicine of both of those. Sea snakes carry medicine from water beings and reptiles. And then, well, I mentioned the mammals, and then the wingeds, which are mostly birds, but then we have bats who cross between being mammals and being wingeds as well. So when we work with these alliances, we do things, we work on building closer relationships with them through an experiential process. We start out with meditative processes and go to the circle and ask it to teach us about these alliances. And we also do things like pick up a stick, and we start just connecting with it, and we ask it to respectfully ask if it's willing to share with me, or this is my process, or what we do. Ask if it's willing to share with me. Ask it to share and teach, share and teach, and wait for a response. And sometimes, especially if you're new to this, quite often you won't really get a strong response, or it might just be more of a feeling. Like you might notice that maybe after 5 minutes I'm feeling calmer than I was before I started doing this. We also ask it to show and tell, which is a different way. It broadens out the question beyond sharing and teaching. And what I would like to lead us towards is making prayer sticks and giving everyone a chance to connect with the stick and just see what happens. And I'll guide us through the process and also turn you loose on your own as I continue talking. And as long as we're respectful when we approach these beings, they're very forgiving. And when I work with the prayer stick, it becomes, I'll add things to it. I'll ask the stick, what do you want to have join you? And it might be, oh, I want a ladybug. So then I'll find a ladybug or a picture of one and glue it or attach it to the stick. And then I'll sit with it again and ask it to show and tell or share and teach, and ask it what it would like. And it might say, I want a pink ribbon on me, and also some deer. So then I'll attach those to the stick. And the stick essentially becomes a portable altar that I can carry with me. Sometimes I'll have it in my jacket pocket. We also make bundles, sort of, and go through the same process, but we start with asking circle. Bundles usually have an intention around them, and it can be something like some area that we need help with. I want to make a bundle for connecting with people without judgment, or that's a work bundle, or accepting myself as a human being. And I'll go to circle and ask, what alliances would help me do that? And then I'll gather beads or objects and pictures and put them in a cloth and create a bundle and carry those with me as well. And that's another form of a personal altar. So quite often I have I have some pouches with me, and I have a larger one up here now because of what I'm sharing today. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce you to making prayer sticks. So there's a table back there with some different items on them, including there's quite a few pictures, and some are separated. You can also cut out pictures yourself. There's a blue bag to the right of the table that has some sticks in it. And I started the process and asked the sticks, each stick, what would you like on you? So then I either attached one or two things or glued something on it. So most of the sticks have something on them already. And my suggestion would be, rather than taking a look in the bag and letting your ego get in the way, just reach in the bag and feel for whatever stick speaks to you. And then you can pull out that stick, and then I'll invite us to return to our seat for however long it takes. We'll have like almost 20 minutes to do this process. And can return to your seat and try and connect with the stick. And for those of you at home, if you have a garden or access outside, you can go outside and see if there's any sticks lying around that are volunteering. You can also have, it's not quite as traditional, but like if you have pine cones or Douglas fir cones, those can work as well, and we can attach items to those and use those as like prayer sticks. Another option is what we call anchors, where you take a piece of wood or one that our teachers like, and which I really appreciate now too, is to take like an oyster shell or a clam shell and get in touch with that energy. And clams and oysters and shell beans, they're very good at protecting themselves. That's why they have that shield around themselves. And they can help us with shielding as well. So shells make a wonderful anchor, and you can hold one and then ask it, okay, what would you like, how would you like to work with me? And what would you like to add to you? And you can start adding things to the shell or gluing them in or tying them onto it, and use that as a portable anchor as well, or like a prayer stick. So those are some options for you at home. Also, I'll be coming back in February 22nd, to follow up on this process. So we'll start the process today, and then I'll invite everyone on February 22nd to come back with their prayer sticks, and we'll go through a meditative process, and I'll share some more of my story at that time. But I would like to get us going with these. So we can just get up and take turns and pick up a prayer stick from the bag on the right, and can return to your seat and let it start speaking to you. Not in, okay. Yeah. So I'll ask you to go ahead and pick up a stick and then return to your seat, and can take a few minutes to connect with it and see what it tells you. And if you don't get any clear messages, that's okay. And then within 5 minutes, you can go back to the table and see what speaks to you, what wants to be added to the prayer stick. And there's glue there, some glue dots, things to tie pictures on with, and let's just have fun with this. And for those of you at home, if you have something like a shell or a stick that you can hold and connect with, I invite you to do that. If not, feel free to take a little break, or you can go through your own meditative practice now. We'll have a little music for part of this, and we'll be back for a more active part of the service, from your perspective anyway, more active, in about 15 minutes. Yes, back. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask. There's no dumb questions here. And I'll try not to give any dumb answers. And what I did not share is part of the reason that I didn't want you looking in was I didn't want you connecting with whatever alliances are already on there. But all your sticks have one or two alliances on them, besides the stick itself, besides the tree that it came from. So those alliances, it gives the alliances a chance to connect with you and say, I'm here for you, let's work together. And it might be something that you're already familiar with, or it may be something where you say, oh my gosh, why is that on my stick? And it's a learning. It's, you may not be comfortable with what's on your stick, but give yourself time and let it start speaking to you, and it will have a gift for you. And if and when you're ready, I invite you to go to the table and see if there's some alliances that are willing to work with the stick, and if your stick is willing to work with any of the alliances there. There are some shells and some minerals that have holes in them. So I do have some beading needles up there, but be very careful with them because they are sharp. There's longer needles on the ones sticking in the foam are really, really sharp. There's some on the other side of the container that are less sharp and less pokey, but you still need to be careful. But you can there's some thread, and you can string a bead and tie that to the stick. And also, I'll let you take some of the alliances on the table home with you. I have some envelopes, and if you don't, if you're uncomfortable like tying it on or gluing something on right now, you can take it home with you and do it later. Yeah. Yes, Gretchen.
What if I like my stick as it is?
That's just fine. And it could be that the stick is saying, let's connect for a while. And it may say, I'm complete now. So it may not want anything else on it.
No, for me,
But
my relationship with it, what I see on the stick, it already talks to me that way.
okay. Mm-hmm.
And to put something more on it would disturb the relationship.
Oh, right. Yeah. So that totally makes sense. Give yourself time the stick may never want anything else on it. And if it's talking to you already, that's fine. And yeah, let it be where it is. Great question. And if anyone was counting the alliances when I was talking about them, you'll realize that I ended at 10 rather than 11. The 11th one is, we call it general utility. And those are alliances that are essentially human-made, and they can be physical things like a lighthouse or a campfire, a boat, something that was actually physically made by humans. Or it can be an image of a spirit that we have, like an angelic being. It could also be an ancestor of ours. There's many spirits out there who are willing to help us, but a spirit may connect with Brother Jamal and I, but we each have our own interpretation of that spirit, and it may appear to us in different ways. And that's why, spirits come under this as being sort of human-made or handmade, because our minds are involved in how they present themselves, how we interpret them. So another option is to go home and you can draw something that resonates with you, and you're totally free to do that as well. Any other questions at this point? I'd like to take a moment to finish up my part of the service with another flute song. And my flutes, to me, are also prayer sticks. So some of them have started decorating, and some of them I'm still waiting to hear what they have to say in terms of what they'd like to have added on to them. But I thought I would share with you that, these beings are also very alive to me, and they speak to me, and they're a different form of prayer stick. Yaishka, thank you for joining us today. And Sally Jo, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for that beautiful service of sharing and contemplation and hearing your story that you shared with us today, and the activity and the blessing. We appreciate all that you put into this this morning, and all that you have given us in terms of your wisdom and your experiences. Very powerful. Thank you. We have a few things we do to kind of wrap up our time together every Sunday, and one is to pass our plate around and ask if you have the ability and capacity. I've been drawn to and able to contribute to our treasury. We appreciate that because it certainly helps us to keep our building in good order, this historic building built in 1890, which requires a lot of loving attention in terms of the upkeep and the care of the grounds around it and the rooms inside of it to make it possible for us to continue to use it as a house of worship. We're very appreciative of that. And all the time that people have spent, volunteer hours that we know also, it costs money in the real world. And we appreciate all the work that people put into keeping our place in good order. And we thank those online who are able to give through the website, if that's possible, and many also send in contributions, and we're very appreciative of all that people give to keep to keep nourishing and caretaking this beautiful sanctuary. We also have a lot of activities that go on here every day of the week, and many special events that are happening. We have some food and beverages downstairs after the service. Everybody's welcome to come down and share if you have the time and would like to have more time to get to know each other and talk and enjoy. There's coffee, tea, and many snacks downstairs. And we also have a very special event, as I mentioned earlier, going on a little later this afternoon from 2 to 4 at the Queen Anne United Methodist Church on 5th Avenue West in Seattle. And that would be an opportunity to share in our 29th annual interspiritual celebration of gratitude and hope. And this is a place where many folks from many different traditions will share their the ways they offer thanksgiving, thanks and gratitude during this season of Thanksgiving. And we'll get to hear and share ways that people give gratitude through their prayers, their songs, their chanting, their movement, their dance, and right, all many different traditions will be sharing. I think we have 12 to 13 different traditions sharing, and we're very happy to have this be our 29th annual interspiritual celebration. Please join us if you can. Also, next Sunday at this time, at 10 a.m. next Sunday, we have a special commemoration service that we are having, and myself and several other congregants will be working together to prepare a commemoration of the lives of people who have passed away, not necessarily this year, but any time in our lives, people who are special to us. And we will have that'll be participatory service up here during from 10 to 11:15 or so. And we'll have an altar in the middle, a larger altar, where we'll be able to place memorabilia, photographs, anything that in our heart reminds us of our loved ones, we can share on our table. And we'll have a chance to interact over those items and hear scriptures from different traditions. It'll be an interfaith service of commemoration and remembrance of our loved ones. And then afterwards, we are hoping that people will come downstairs and share a meal together. It'll be a potluck time for you to bring a favorite dish of yours or your loved ones, and we'll sit downstairs and have more time to talk and be with each other over food and beverages and community to continue the commemoration of our loved ones. And I'll be sending out more information during the week, but I think we'll all find it a powerful and beautiful way to use our this month. Our discernment for this month is about using our sacred space and our sanctuary as sacred space for religious rites and ceremonies. And so it seems like the perfect time, the 5th Sunday of November, to give gratitude to our loved ones, our ancestors, as we always talk about, have given us so much but may have passed on. And many of them are still all of them are still with us in our hearts and in our minds. And we like to give gratitude for that. And so that will be our ceremony next week in our commemoration. And we welcome all to that. And then, of course, during the week, there are classes, there are different gatherings, and you can find them on our website. You can get them on the announcement that comes every Monday. to tell you what's coming up for the week ahead. And we welcome all those gatherings. They're, ways for you to connect with others and to deepen your own spiritual path. And at this point, if anyone has a special gathering they'd like to mention that I might have not mentioned, this would be a good time to do that. If not, we thank people who are online. Thank you for being here, and we are very happy that you were able to join us this morning, and wish you for a blessed week and a blessed Thanksgiving. And we'll take a few minutes here with those of us who are left. If you have any sharing of